we're underway. Okay, so the biggest secret the government doesn't want you to know. Okay, and in fact, anybody in power doesn't want you to know this secret, and that is that if you look at natural law and you understand natural law, and natural law is the foundation of all laws, and natural law can't be violated by any kind of legal mumbo jumbo, legal codes or any of that kind of nonsense. The biggest secret they don't want you to know is you can't make a contract. Okay, you cannot make a contract as a living man. Number one, under natural law, you cannot make a contract. You cannot make a contract with another man. You can have an instantaneous contract, like a transaction, something that's done in the here and now, that is done and dusted in one swift action. Okay, you can have that kind of transaction. Okay, but you cannot have like an ongoing contract with anybody. You just can't do it. Here's the why. Okay, and then I'll get into whether you can even do any kind of legal contracts, which you can't either. Why, Dan, why can't you make a contract? Where are you getting this natural law from? I'm getting the natural law from looking in the mirror, people. Okay, we all age. Okay, I am not the same. This is not the same body I had 20 years ago. I can definitely tell it's not the same body. There's too many aches and pains now. Man, I'm getting even fatter than I was. You know what I mean? It's not the same body. My eyes aren't as good as they were. Okay, so I know it's not the same body. What does that mean? It means that the man in the past was a different man to the man now. And the man now is a different man to the man that's going to be in the future. We're constantly changing. I mean, it's not very evident minute to minute, but if you could speed up reality, like at the end of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, when he drinks from the goblet, what he thinks is the Holy Grail, he drinks the water, and he just ages right there in front of your eyes, right? If we could speed up time, that's what we would see. Now, it's evident that that's what's happening, but it's just so spread out, we don't notice it from minute to minute, okay? But we are changing. Moment to moment, we're completely changing. We've got different things influencing us, and we've got cells dying and cells being recreated in our bodies, all kinds of stuff going on. We're different, okay? So, can I sign a contract and expect the man of the future, who will be different to me, to carry on that contract? He's a different man. He's a completely different entity. Okay. So can he uphold what I've done? The same way as do I uphold what, if I was a 5-year-old kid and I made a deal with my mate, like when I'm 30, I'm going to give you my bike. 30 rolls around, I'm like, oh, I really want to keep my bike now. I don't really want to give it to my best mate because I made a deal with him back in the day. You know what I mean? Everybody changes their mind. Now, that's not to say you can just go and make a deal with somebody and then back out on it because you changed my mind, and then you reap a load of value from the contract. Contracts, if they are voided, must be voided equitably. Okay? I don't know if I said that word right, but there must be balance on it. The value must be redistributed equally back to the parties involved in the contract. Okay, so I'm not saying that you can't make a contract. I'm just saying that if you were to make a contract, there can never be an expectation of a contract being fulfilled. Okay, and God throws another little clanger in the works, and he gives us a certain amount of time here on the earth, and so you could die at any minute. So how can you possibly expect anybody to uphold a contract indefinitely? You can't. Okay, and the powers that be know this. The powers that be know that a man, they definitely know a man cannot uphold a contract. He can't. Okay, there cannot be any expectation of a man upholding a contract. That's not to say you can't go in and make a contract with somebody and give your word, and if you've got a good reputation of sticking to your word, then the contract's upheld. I mean, you can still make a contract, but what I'm saying is a contract cannot be binding lawfully or legally, apart from the here and now. Okay. With that being said, and the powers that be know this, so they built the legal system, and the legal system deals with dead fictions. Okay, so technically, a dead fiction can't do anything without getting a little bit of consciousness from somewhere. Okay, so the dead fiction gets some consciousness, and then it can make a decision on what it's going to do, and it can enter into a contract with this little bit of consciousness, and then usually what the consciousness has to do is then go and pay some bills on behalf of the fiction, and it has to administer all the little things that the fiction does. Okay, this consciousness does. Well, can a legal fiction really make a binding contract? And the answer is no. Why can't it, Dan? And it's exactly the same reason as why a natural man or woman can't make a contract under natural law, because the consciousness is bound. Okay, it's the same consciousness that would make the contract between a man or a woman. Okay, so that consciousness is bound to a body. Okay, it can't be separated from the body, otherwise the consciousness floats off and is gone into the ether, and the body withers and dies and returns to the earth. I mean, once it's separated, there's death. Nothing can be done. So, if we know that the consciousness is bound to the body, we know the body's aging, and we know that consciousness has to be changing as well. Okay? If you're telling me that you're the same consciousness that when you were 6 or 7 years old and when you were 20 years old, if you're telling me that you're the same consciousness, then you've got to be some kind of damn robot. There's no, you're running just a computer program, that just replays the same thing over and over again. Well, consciousness is not like that, is it? Because consciousness gets influenced by its environmental surroundings, if you like. Without getting too technical, we know that consciousness is changing. We know your thoughts and your ideas on things change. Okay, that's your consciousness. So that is changing. Okay, and the body is the physical representation of this. So go back to the legal contract. The legal contract has to borrow a little bit of this consciousness in order to do anything. Okay, so the legal fiction's consciousness is coming from a consciousness that is changing. Okay, so that consciousness makes a decision on behalf of the fiction. Okay, and then several years later, that consciousness has changed. It's making a different decision because it's not the same consciousness that's involved with the fictitious entity. Okay. Can the contract be binding in any way to anything to do with any kind of consciousness? The answer is no. Okay, so any conscious input from any living man or entity can have no influence on the fictitious side of things. Okay, can the fiction do anything? The fiction can't do anything by itself. Okay, so we're in kind of like a limbo land of here, of where can a fictitious entity even do anything? And it can't do anything, right? I can't move this cursor, it's gone on the thing. Anyway, without waffling on and keep going over the same thing again and again and again, the basic gist of the conversation is you cannot make a contract with you cannot make a legal contract, okay? Because technically a legal fiction can't do a bloody thing without some kind of consciousness behind it. It can't do anything, okay? So the idea that anything that the legal fiction does is binding in any way is absolute nonsense, because the consciousness that is lent to the legal fiction is constantly changing, and it's not the same consciousness that originally got lent to it if it made any decisions in the past, and it's not the same consciousness that's going to be dealing with future issues with the fiction, okay? So it's all just illusion. It's a complete illusion, the idea that any kind of contract can be made apart from a simple exchange of value on the spot. That's the only contract that can be made. So, number one, you can't even make a contract to give a government any kind of power. That's the first thing. Number two, all the people in the government are not acting as men and women. They're acting under fictitious identities. Can you even give a fictitious identity? Even a government as a whole is a fictitious identity. Can you even give them any kind of claim of possession of anything that you had in your possession? You can't. Because number one, a legal fiction can't accept anything without some kind of consciousness. So it can't do anything for itself. So it can't accept anything from a living man. Number two, even if you were passing it on, even if you were passing some kind of claim of possession of something, boys getting to a living man, like I could give you this pen, but unless you actually take it from me and accept possession of the pen, have it. But unless you actually take it and accept possession of it, then the possession's not passed on, okay? So somebody has to physically take possession of it, okay? And a fictional entity can't do that. Right, with that being said, government has no power over any man or woman, okay? All they have power over, okay, is a little piece of paper which they've kept in their own possession. I'm pretty sure you don't receive the original copy of your birth certificate. They keep the original. I'm sure of it. But correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe in some cases you do get the original. I'm not sure 100%. Not without checking my own birth certificate, and I'm sure that's a copy, the one that I've got. That's the only thing they have jurisdiction over, is a piece of paper. And the illusion is they get you to believe that that is you, that you have to take responsibility for everything that happens to that piece of paper. Okay? Now you do make decisions on behalf of it, but the problem is the decisions you make on behalf of it are with your living consciousness that is making those decisions, and that is changing all the time. It cannot. There cannot be an expectation of that contract ever being upheld. There cannot be an expectation. Okay? I don't know where to go from here, right? Again, I refer people, go watch The Matrix, the film. Go watch, there's several other films that talk about this kind of stuff. Go watch some stuff. Go watch some people that talk about sort of sovereignty and freedom and living patriotic living and all that kind of stuff. They've got some good ideas, but they just miss out the natural law side of things, okay? And the important thing to know is that natural law is in the foundation of this country. It is in the Declaration of Independence, most important document that you can possibly have in your possession for a reference. And this goes for people in England and the USA and any other Commonwealth country. So basically, any westernized country basically any westernized country and the USA, it's probably the most important document because it's recognized by the Crown, and it's also recognized by the United States of America original government, let's put it that way. So, and any idea that any kind of corporation can have any what I would call physical possession of anything physical is absolute nonsense. It can't happen. Okay, it's just as simple as that. It's like saying a ghost can own a house when there's nothing there, you know, if you look at the proper definition of a ghost. I don't know, I lost track of where I was going at the end of this, but you get the idea anyway. I got nothing else to say. Let me just have a quick whizzy through my notes. That's it basically. Nice short video. Okay, hope that was helpful. If you like the video, click a like, and do give me, I don't usually say this in my videos, but put a comment down there, because if you think this sort of stuff's important for people to know, you know, there's no way I'm going to get a lot of traction with these crappy videos that I'm putting out. I mean, look at this video. So do something proactive if you think it's worth it. Alright, ciao for now, bye.